Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Whew, I just ran over from the other building, so I need to catch my breath. How many people were over there and watched the unveiling of this year's Legal Trends Report? We have people who are in there. Thank you. There's going to be some repetition as we get background, but I appreciate you guys coming. So for those of you who weren't at my other session that I ran from, I'm the lawyer in residence at Clio. My name's Joshua Lennon. I'm an attorney admitted into New York, and for the last dozen years, I've served as a voice of lawyers within the company. How do we work? Why do we work that way? Why do we ask for this button to be green rather than blue? All those questions come my way, and I do my best to represent you all. But I actually have a really neat job, and that's I get to work with a whole team of individuals. I just gotta get back in shape. I work with a whole team of individuals around the year that take a look at our legal trends report, the data that we're able to collate from the tens of thousands of law firms that work with us, and then put that together into a system that we can create actionable insights for. That's what I'd like to focus on today. What are some actionable legal trends reports insights? We're gonna go over them. Then we're gonna take a look at targeting change using those insights. So we're gonna have 5 exercises that you can pick from. We're gonna break out, talk about those exercises, try them, and then we'll come back together to see, is this the right approach for you and your firm? What were your opinions on that exercise? And how can we move forward from that together? And then if we've got time, we'll do some questions. Does that work for everybody? Excellent. So what are the actionable insights from the Legal Trends Report? I think there are 5. The first of which is just, let's get our numbers right. What are our annual benchmarks? Well, the next is that AI is integrated into the legal industry. It's quite frankly scary how fast AI is becoming part of the practice of law. The next insight is that we need to budget for growth. We're not seeing firms necessarily doing that. Second to last, we need to work on bringing clients on board. And finally, we need to just flatten our fees. And we're going to do exercises based on each of these insights later. So let's start with the first one, annual benchmarks. Clio has been publishing the Legal Trends Report since 2016. We do have it available on our website right now. You can use this QR code to go and download it. All of our past reports are on there as well. And that's going to become important to one of the possible exercises later. Everybody have this QR code that needs it? Okay. So what are some of our annual benchmarks? The first of which is the billable hour index. Everyone can set a billable hour rate in Clio. We've been tracking them over time. And given that you can designate a user as either a lawyer or a non-lawyer legal professional, we can tell how much lawyers are charging and how much non-lawyers are charging when they keep time. So what are the numbers? This year, we see the average lawyer is billing about $340 per hour. Does that sound about right to anybody? You sound too high, too low? I'm seeing, it's okay. Okay. Your portion's coming later. This guy does flat fees and block fees, right? And so I'm actually probably gonna have you lead one of our exercises. Yeah. Because we can look at the non-lawyer rates, though, the purple line at the bottom, we see they're charging a lot less on average, $195, right? And that can be a lot for a paralegal, to be perfectly honest. But is it enough? And when we look at inflation, we see that most non-lawyer fees are way too low. They actually need to be at least 12% higher to keep up with the rate of inflation that we've experienced over the last number of years. It's not a huge jump, 193 to 216. But this is one of those incidences where the Legal Trends Report can show us an annual benchmark and give us an opportunity to compare our own firm against it. We actually break these fees down by state. And when you visit the link on that QR code, you can actually find our state hourly pages, which break down the lawyer and non-lawyer billing rates by practice area for your state. In addition to that, we have a benchmark fee calculator where Like this is just a chart. You can enter in your practice area and your hourly fee, and we'll tell you how it compares against the average. Are you high compared to the average? And that might be a good thing, right? You're a premium service. Are you too high if you're trying to go to be a volume service, right? This will give you insight against these metrics that we can use. The next set of metrics that we publish annually is our key performance indicators. There are 3 of these. There is utilization rate, realization rate, and collection rate, top to bottom. And we actually describe these when they work together as the lawyer funnel. What happens is you will record some billable time at the top, and then at each subsequent stage, we're going to see a cut. At the bottom, most lawyers are actually only getting paid for 2.3 hours of an 8-hour day. So how do we calculate this? The top one's utilization rate, and it measures the number of billable hours divided by the number of hours in the day. And surveys with lawyers have told us that on average, you work about 8-hour days. Now, we definitely know there are days that are higher, weekends that are higher, but on average, it's 8 hours. So we use that as our benchmark here. So if I'm recording 3 hours of billable work a day, divide that by 8, and that'll give me my utilization rate. Those of you who are Clio managed customers will actually see this calculated in your firm dashboard. It relies upon your own historical data to tell you your utilization rate, and you can compare it against our benchmark. Oh man, I'm sorry. It's not showing up skewed on my monitors. Oh. The next one down is realization rate. This is the one KPI 100% within your own control, right? And this is, I've recorded some billable hours. How many of those am I putting on the bill? And it has consistently remained in the high 80s. Lawyers give themselves what I call a haircut. When we've surveyed lawyers, it tends to be 2 reasons. One, empathy. Look, this is a lot. I feel bad for the client. I'm not going to charge them this. The other is fear. My client's not going to pay this, so I'm going to write it down. So that's our next haircut. We see it's around 88%, right, of hours recorded end up on a bill. You then send that bill to your client. The bottom line, that's your collection rate. And as we see, that client for whom you're really nice and you gave yourself a haircut pays 91% of that haircut bill. That's a bad turn of phrase. And so I asked myself, why did I write it down if they're not going to pay the full bill anyway? The good news is this is actually an improvement on the previous year. We were looking at 89, 90% for collection rate for law firms, and it's higher than what we're seeing reported right now in big law. They're handling a lot of corporate business that's pushing their payments back, and they're pushing back and paying less. So the lawyers that are working within Clio and contributing to Clio, you guys are actually better off than big law firms right now, which is surprising to me. These are some benchmarks you can turn to Clio Manage or use this math to compare as a part of an exercise later. I do want to highlight, though, it's not the only metrics that we track. We actually track change over time in number of matters per timekeeper, number of hours recorded by timekeeper, billed amount per timekeeper, or per account, sorry, because this gets aggregated, and then collected amount per account. And what I really like about this is one of those graphs that goes up and to the right. That's a good graph in most business world, right? And so you guys are handling more matters, 22% increase over time. It's a 30% increase over the previous year. You're recording more billable hours, 26% since we started measuring this, a 76% jump from the previous year. And as we see with the green and orange lines, because we're handling more matters, we're recording more time, there's like this hockey stick growth in hours and billed amounts and collected amounts. If we adjust the green and orange lines for inflation and the fact that there tends to be a 4% increase in annual fees year over year, we see that these numbers, when adjusted for inflation, drop down to around like 70%. That's still a pretty good bump over that time period. Are you able to calculate similar growth within your own law firm? Our newest metric is law firm lockup. I really like this one because it measures something that I think is really important to law firms: cash flow. How many people know a lawyer that had to borrow money to keep their law firm going? Maybe they put it on a credit card. Maybe they had a line of credit with the bank, right? Maybe the partners all had to kick in some extra equity. That's when a law firm is having a cash flow problem. And law firms actually have fewer cash flow issues than most other businesses. We don't keep inventory of law, right? I don't have to keep it in a freezer out back and throw it away when it goes bad by the expiration date. We have printers, we have insurance, we have our own knowledge. And that's really lucky from a business owner point of view. But that doesn't mean that we don't have cash flow issues. Our cash flow issues is when revenue that we have earned is locked up either in an unbilled state or an uncollected state. And calculating lockup looks at that in terms of days. How many days of my annual revenue is kept in this either unbilled or uncollected state? We've got a benchmark for that. The median law firm has 47 days of their annual revenue locked up in an unbilled state. This is something you guys can actually control. This is another one of those few things that's within your control. You can get your bills out, right? And that will cut this down. Now, 47 days doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a month and a half. Would your mortgage let you skip a month and a half until you got the money to pay? That's how much of your annual revenue is in this in median locked up state. The next one down is collection. How much of your revenue is locked up in an uncollected state? This one's actually much better than I thought it was going to be. It's at 27, so just about a month, right? And I attribute that to uptake of certain features within Clio Manage, like Clio Payments. We know that using Clio Payments, email bill sharing, oddly enough, Clio for Clients, actually all see decreases on collection lockup because the easier it is for your clients to pay you, just the faster they do it. But it's still a month of cash being locked up somewhere else. The last one is total, and it's basically we combine them together. I know the math doesn't add up, 47 and 27, but that's because it's the median each way down, calculated separately. But the median total lockup for a law firm is 92 days, 3 months, a quarter of your year, where you might have to find some additional revenue. So this is another benchmark that we compare ourselves against. And then we move into the new stuff. This is what I think is fun. This is groundbreaking research that some people heard earlier. Jack definitely talked about it. But our first opportunity is that AI is now integrated into the legal industry. And it's here in the room with us. 4 out of 5 lawyers are telling us that they use AI. How many of you have ChatGPT on your phone right now? Seen hands. Yeah, right? AI is in the room. What's interesting is it's not evenly distributed. William Gibson has that famous quote, "The future is here, it's just not evenly distributed." And so we see 8% of lawyers are universally adopting AI. Everybody in our firm is using it. 34% though have minimal adoption. So we have access to AI, but we might not be using it a lot. But it's still 4 out of 5. And this is a complete reversal of our survey results from the previous year. Only 1 out of 5 lawyers told us they were using AI. So the future is here. It's now. You guys are using it for interesting things. There's the generic ChatGPT at the very top that's in our phones right now, but there's also AI in legal research that's very popular. There is document drafting, which I think is a great case for this. E-discovery as well. How many people were really surprised by the details that Jack was able to pull out of the documents using Clio Duo this morning? Like, I knew it could do that. I was still surprised. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for using these tasks. What's interesting to me is where you trust AI to help you. So when we look at the far right of the screen, we see that most lawyers tell us they most trust AI for generating marketing materials. All right? Things that are short, sweet. I got a blog post, it's out. I got an article, it's in the newspaper. I got a newsletter. That's where you guys are using it. And then you're using it to find information. The biggest value that you say AI provides you is that it saves you time. 54% of respondents say AI saves them time. And because of this value, 84% of all law firms believe AI usage will increase. The minimum will go to widely adopted. The widely will go to universal. And interestingly, even the people who aren't using AI will say they're going to adopt it soon. And your clients actually support this. So what we found is that 42% of clients say they want a law firm that uses AI. When we combine that with the clients who don't care, that's actually 70% of clients. So the marketplace is chosen, right? They'll go with an AI using law firm if presented with one. The difficulty for that is when we compare 7 million time entries in Clio's database, that's not even all of our time entries, against the potential for automation, we found that 75% of billable work is probably automatable. How many people bill hourly? Yeah. And so what we estimate is that firms that are doing certain types of work, like producing legal documents, and lean into AI, will see a huge reduction in their recorded billable hours. And the average impact to a lawyer could be a reduction of up to $27,000 in annual billable revenue. That's a huge impact for a tool that saves you time, right? And so are we creating perverse incentives then on how to use these tools or not use them? Something we're going to struggle with here. But there's another actionable insight, and that's budgeting for growth. I want to say thank you to CPN Legal. They are Clio certified consultants. They helped us gather the data for this when they worked with their law firm customers to provide anonymized historical financial data. And they're actually here in the expo hall, so please go visit them. And what they enabled us to do was to come up with a law firm budget. Over 122 solo, small, and medium-sized law firms contributed decades of historical financial data. Again, all of it anonymized. And this is what a law firm on average is spending. Salaries are 38%, rent is 7%, office expenses, your copier, 7%. Professional fees are 5%. That's actually really low compared to non-American law firms. They really got them there, like thousands of dollars a year in dues, tens of thousands of dollars in liability. So we have our insurance, other expenses, and the two that I want to call out are marketing and software. So what's interesting about these is, again, it's one of those few areas that you can control, and we see that they have an outsized impact. What we found is that law firms that are spending just a little bit more on software or just a little bit more on marketing saw a 21% increase in profitability. So the average law firm is spending 5% on marketing. These more profitable law firms were spending around 7%. The average law firm is spending 2% on software. These more profitable law firms were spending 3%. So it's an investment, but it's one that has outsized returns. And the categories and items on which you can spend are actually really diverse. Most law firms are already using cloud-based document storage. We all have a Dropbox account somewhere, right? But we also see investment in cloud-based practice management. Thank you. But less investment in the tools further down, right? Accounting. How many people actually can tell me what percentage of their annual revenue is spent on marketing? I see some hands. Okay, you guys are going to lead one of my exercises as well. Now, how many people are using a client intake tool? I see a couple handfuls, yeah. But only 38% of law firms are telling us that they're using these tools. And so we have gaps. It might be a gap based on the size of your law firm and what you're spending, but there are gaps, and these are gaps that we can take control of, adjust our spending, and figure out how to get more clients, more revenue. When it comes to marketing, what we see is word of mouth still is the primary driver of clients. Is anybody here not using word of mouth? Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? But interestingly, it's the company website that is the next biggest source of leads for our marketing, right? And what we see is you guys have a real opportunity to bring clients on board because about 73% of law firms out there are really bad at it. Jack mentioned our secret shopper. This is the second time we've done this. We contacted 500 different law firms. We contacted them via email. We contacted them via phone, answered, and voicemail. We contacted them via chatbot, and we contacted them via an online intake forms. And what we found via our secret shoppers is that 73% of those shoppers would not recommend the law firm they contacted. You rely on word of mouth. That's what they're saying. Those are the words. So this is actually an actionable insight. This is an opportunity. What don't they like? Can we improve it? Easily. 84% of clients were able to find a law firm's website. What they couldn't find was how much you're going to charge. No. They couldn't find out what's going to be the steps to hire this lawyer. Not just there's a phone number. Well, once you phone, we're going to have a consultation. We'll see if we're a good fit for each other. We'll sign an engagement agreement. You'll put $5,000 into my trust account, and we're in business, right? It's a paragraph on a website, and they can't find it. We do know that when they contact you by phone, they're most satisfied, right? Here we see that 72% of the secret shoppers that reached out to a law firm that answered their phone, which unfortunately is a small percentage, were satisfied. I got outstanding customer service. Actionable insight, answer the phone. Difficulty, you're busy lawyering. Maybe we talk to some of the answering services here, like Ruby Receptionist, Smith AI, and more, who help you answer the phone. The other one that jumped out to me here is that chatbot came in second place. So if I can't answer the phone, maybe my chatbot can. When it came to finding the step-by-step process, when lawyers answered the phone, high satisfaction, the long pink line. Unfortunately, nobody really came out ahead when it was about finding out pricing information. How do you bill? What's a price estimate? How do I pay? These are really standard questions, and I know you guys get them in every consultation, but a lot of people are looking for them prior to that. Chatbots, they're in second place. And the good news is 51% of consumers surveyed said it's a good starting place to learn about a law firm. 61% said, though, they only want to talk to a chatbot if it leads to talking to a lawyer. Chat with the bot, talk with a lawyer. So as you're designing these workflows, and if you stop by the Law Droid booth down at the exhibit hall, right? You should be asking, okay, what's the exit procedure from the chat? Or the escalation procedure? Does it have a scheduler that I can use that'll schedule a phone call? Does it trigger a phone call if it's an emergency? These are all things that can turn a chatbot from an okay experience to an actionable hiring potential, right? And we know that when you're using certain types of technology, it does lead to more positive outcomes. This year, for the first time ever, we published information around Clio Grow, our client intake tool. We specifically looked at these 5 features within it. And what we found is that firms that were using Clio Grow and Clio Manage were doing 51% more leads and 52% more revenue. The 3 features that really made a difference here were online schedulers, right? The ability for a lawyer to set up blocks of their time that clients can go and book, right? We found that the average meeting scheduling takes between 8 to 10 phone calls. That's 8 to 10 interruptions in your day, right? Are you free Tuesday? No, I'm not free Tuesday. I'll call back when I'm free. Oh, I got voicemail. Instead, they just want to go to your website. Oh, you're free next Tuesday? I'm going to book that time. So that was really influential here. Online search ads, and in particular, Google local service ads, which is a feature that's available in Grow, actually helped a lot in bumping that lead number. And the last one, online intake forms, led to people not just looking at your website, but using it. And then once you had that information, right, there are features that help you take a potential client and make them into a client. What we see here is that firms that were using e-signatures as a part of their client onboarding had a 10% higher conversion rate than firms that weren't. And this one, honestly, it just makes sense, right? If I'm emailed a contract that I have to print out, sign, scan, or buy a fax machine to get it back to you, right? Sometimes I'm not gonna sign that contract. If I get an email for a contract that says click here to sign, I can do that on my mobile phone, and I most likely will. So this was very interesting to me that all of these features had some influence, except for online search ads, right? This is where you guys sell yourselves. The ad got them to your website, you sell yourselves. But all of them helped to some degree. They correlated with an increase. And what was also interesting to me is they correlated with a shorter time to being hired, especially e-signatures, right? It was actually a quarter fewer days than people who don't have this. So if I have to go and buy a fax machine, it's going to take me a couple days to get back to you. Now, whereas here, they're like, okay, I'm going to sign. Let's do this. So this is, again, actual insight. What are the tools that are out there? Where are other people not performing? Where can I increase my performance? This is an insight that I just pulled out that I liked. And you can, in Clio Grow, set your intake forms to be public or privately shared. Public ones just like on your website, people enter it. And what we found is that firms that had public intake forms had a 71% higher lead volume. Now, there were some downstream impacts on this on conversion. Their conversions were a little lower. They were still higher than people who didn't have intake forms, but they weren't as high as the privately shared one. So full disclosure there. But if you're a firm that needs lead volume, this is your action. Last insight, flattening fees. The average value of an hourly matter has increased only 27% since 2016. The average value of a flat fee matter has increased 92% since 2016. And they're becoming more prevalent as a part of law firm revenue. More lawyers are using flat fees, right? And what we've discovered is they're twice as likely to just be paid on the first day. Issue the bill, get paid. Love that. And even though we're seeing bigger and bigger matters, bigger and bigger values be assigned a flat fee, they actually close twice as fast. That's because there is an incentive to being productive with a flat fee. The more hours I spend on a flat fee, the less money I'm earning, because I could just be working on a different flat fee. So there's an incentive for productivity here that is the reverse of hourly billing, right? And there's a high draw for clients for flat fees. 71% of clients are telling us they want flat fees. 41% are telling us they want hourly. 50% of law firms are telling us they offer flat fees. 71% are telling us they offer hourly fees. And again, that's if you can find that information on their website. And so there's this mismatch between what clients are looking for, what they like, what they're willing to pay extra for, and what law firms are offering. And this is, I think, the kicker, where we get towards the end of the actionable insights and start to get ready for exercises. We asked 1,000 legal professionals, do you use AI? How widely are you using AI? And we saw that chart before. But then we asked about, do you charge flat fees? Do you charge exclusively flat fees, right? And what we found is the firms that most used AI also most billed in only flat fees. They figured out that they can use AI to speed up the process, get to done, transfer the money from their trust account, and go on to the next matter. So those are the insights. There's a lot going on, but I think each of these is an opportunity. And so that's why I want to move to the next segment, which is targeting change, right? We've got 5 insights. There are annual benchmarks we can compare. There's integrating AI. There's creating a budget, right? There's bringing clients on board. And lastly, there's flattening fees. These are the exercises that I'd like everybody to just choose one, all right? Do you have the ability to document firm performance? Can you lean into one artificial workflow? Can you account for your firm's finances? Can you sell yourself? And can you fix a flat? Just something everybody should know how to do at some point, right? All right, so what are the exercises really? Document firm performance. Let's pick one metric, and we've got a whole bunch of annual metrics, right? There's your hourly fees. That one should be easy. There's your KPIs. There's your lockup. And figure out where you're going to research that and what target you're going to set for improvement. That's it. It's a very simple exercise. There's artificial workflows. And Clio Duo was a great example of this morning. But I don't want you to pick a tool. I want you to pick a task. What's one task that I can use an artificial workflow for? And the reason I say task is I think the realization rate that where we give ourselves that haircut is often the stuff that we just don't think is billable. So why not give that to the AI? And rather than writing it down over and over again, just get it done and move on to the billable work. So let's pick one task, document what it is, and figure out how you're going to implement that in an artificial workflow. Third, account for firm performance, all right? So how are you going to go about calculating your spend on software and marketing? Some of you know this right off the bat. This is not your exercise, but you'll lead them. And some of you will need help figuring that out. What do I spend on marketing? This one I really like because I get to combine a couple of different things. In our secret shopper, these were the things we asked them to look for. Did the response have a likable tone? You weren't rude to them, right? Did you provide information that was clear and easy to understand? Did you provide next steps? Did you provide some information on rates or overall cost, right? Did you reference that you've handled a similar situation before? And we targeted their scripts, right? So they didn't go to a family law lawyer and say, hey, can you help me with my lawsuit against this banana company in a foreign country? No. They're like, you're a family law firm. I'm considering going for a divorce. Can you answer a couple questions for me, right? And so one of the things they wanted to hear back was, yeah, we handle divorces. That's great. I think I can help you. And then the last one is provide information on what to expect, right? Going to divorce is a long process. What's really interesting about this, and how many people, again, have ChatGPT on their phones? This is a prompt. Just write me an email that does these things, right? And ChatGPT doesn't even have to know your law firm, what you charge or anything like that. It can give you a first draft that you can edit, right? And so pull out ChatGPT, say what type of practice area you are, say what your billable hour is, and tell it to write an email that does all these points. And then you can cut and paste that into a message template in Clio Manage, into Outlook as a template. You've got this and you're ready to go. Actually, yeah, that was a good one to take a picture of. All right, and the last one, fix a flat. Come up with one potential flat fee. Now, this is important. I don't think every matter needs to be only flat fee. I'm actually really leaning into the idea of hybrid billing. We see this a lot actually in criminal defense firms, right? Pay me $10,000, I'll handle your arraignment and a plea deal. But if you decide to plead innocent and we go to trial, right, then we switch to hourly. That's an example of hybrid billing. So here I want you to fix a flat in terms of picking a segment or a task that you think you can calculate a flat fee for. Here we see the medium flat fee case value for 5 specific practice areas. I'm displaying these 5 because they're actually higher than the hourly fee for those cases. Which is really interesting to me, right? Personal injury and medical malpractice, it's weird that they're on this list, but their flat fee is higher. And to use this, we have some information from our 2018 Clio Legal Trends report. This is the average case value per practice area over around 36 practice areas. This is tough because this is one of those instances where I would really love to be able to see your cases and your contacts because I honestly don't know what's going on in them a good chunk of the time. I know they open, there are bills, they close. Well, sometimes they close. A lot of you don't close your cases. You just let them kind of live in the background, ancient and open. See? Yeah. That's good feedback, but it would really help the legal trends report if you close them. But here, what we do is we look at case values, and what we've got is the average. That's the mean right? And then we have a breakdown of what's the lowest 10%, what's the middle, the median, what's the high 90%, right? This does not tell me, is this a win in a civil lawsuit? This does not tell me whether or not there was a vengeful X in this divorce, right? So there's a lot that I can't factor in. Your own personal knowledge will help a lot with that. But these are the case values. This is available on our website, clio.com/LTR for legal trends in the 2018 report, right? But this is some benchmarks that you can use in setting a flat fee for one task. So what I'd like to do right now is everybody take 10 minutes to pick a task. Document, artifice, account, sell, or flatten out. How many people have a task picked? We're getting towards 15 minutes left. I'm not going to make people move, but can I see a show of hands? How many people are going to benchmark, document firm performance? All right. I'm going to call on you at the end to tell me what you picked, how you found it, and what your new target's going to be. All right. How many people are picking artificial workflows? We all went to law school. I'm just going to call on somebody. Who wants to do artificial workflow and has ChatGPT in their pocket? Ooh, it's getting difficult. You, ma'am, in the polka dot, didn't you have ChatGPT in your pocket? You don't. There we go. Now I'm flashing back to law school. All right. Sir, I'm volunteering you just to talk about how you're going to use AI for one task, right? Yeah. All right. Accounting for firm finances. Who here has accounting? Come on, guys. Yeah. The woman in the red and white striped shirt. Everybody sitting far in the back, you're actually getting off lucky because the lights are too bright for me to see you. I'm going to ask you to look at accounting, sell myself, write that email, lastly, fix a flat. We're going to take 5 minutes, all right? And then we're going to come back and ask our voluntold people to tell us how they're doing. And then we're going to ask questions about these. This is your chance to grill me or everybody else on what worked for you. Does that sound great for everybody? All right, 5 minutes, go. It's a workshop. You got to work. Okay, 1 more minute left. Thank you very much. And why don't we actually start from last to first? Let's start with our flat fee volunteer. Yeah. What flat did you fix? How did you go about setting a target number?
Okay. So I'm a criminal defense lawyer who practices drinking and driving law in Canada.
Okay.
I was sitting and thinking about what I charge through, so I have a milestone block fee structure where there's sort of an initial retainer for the intake period, whether you plead guilty or take it to trial, there's a different number.
Okay.
And I was sitting down and didn't quite finish was I was trying to divide out realistically how many hours am I putting in, how many hours is my paralegal and her clerk putting in. And then I was sort of analyzing what I currently charge and what that worked out to by an hourly, and I'm going to be bumping my fees by about $2,500 when I get home.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
So that was actually a helpful exercise.
Thank you very much. And thank you for volunteering. You didn't share your name and first name.
Avery, Avery is the last name.
Thank you so much for volunteering. I appreciate that. So did anybody have any questions about how he came up with a target flat fee? So he took a look at the labor and personnel that are involved, right? And figured out what is that costing him as a firm? What's his expense on that? And then he looked at how much is he recovering by billing at an hourly rate and discovered that he was losing money. So how much would get him up into profitability? He said $2,500. Yeah, and so that's going to be the adjustment that he's going to experiment with. Importantly, when you fix a flat, you don't have to change your entire firm. You can just try it on one client, one matter. Give them a choice. Look, I can bill you hourly, or I can charge you this amount, and we see where it goes from there, right? And you're going to find that there are clients who will gravitate towards picking the flat fee. They're willing to pay a higher amount than you might normally earn hourly because they have certainty. Now, don't tell them. This is higher what most people pay. Yeah, but it is reasonable for them to pay that. So thank you very much for providing that. Okay, I'm going to jump over here to our volunteer on documenting firm performance.
Okay, so I have to be honest. I live in Florida, and I was actually looking at the hurricane.
Is everybody all right?
Well, it's coming, but anyway, so I was not paying attention, and I raised it for the wrong one. But Bob said he would take the baton for us.
Take it away, Bob.
Baton or a microphone, either way. So I'm a little bit conflicted because the previous speaker was Bo.
Bo of Evolve Law. He's a matrimonial law firm out of Canada. Yeah.
Yes, and his concept on billing was very interesting and foreign to a lot of what we do. But on documenting firm performance and trying to increase the amount of billable hours that everybody gets on a daily basis, what we've done for about a year and a half now with mixed results is create an incentive plan for all the attorneys and all the staff to hit 67% of their day as billable hours.
Wow, that's a big jump.
So 5.3%.
Okay.
5.3 hours a day out of an 8-hour day. And if you hit your goal, you can get a $500 bonus every quarter. If we hit our revenue goal for the quarter, there's a $500 bonus. And if everybody hits their goal and we hit the revenue goal, it's another $500 bonus. So everybody can earn up to an additional $1,500 a quarter, $6,000 a year. We hit those goals.
That's amazing that you've set those targets. What were you doing to also empower them to hit those targets?
What I started doing is having meetings with them. Started out weekly, and now because it's doing pretty good, every other week we meet after our team meeting on Monday morning. I meet with every single person for 8 to 10 minutes just to look at what they did in the past 2 weeks, see if there's any roadblocks, if you didn't hit your goal, why, what happened, and try to solve problems proactively rather than at the end of the quarter say, you didn't meet your goals, why didn't you meet your goals?
It's really interesting. That actually is very similar to what we do with software development at Clio. And we have our weekly stand-up. Some teams have daily stand-ups where you talk about what you did, what you're going to do today or this next week, and what are some roadblocks that might be slowing you down. And it's the manager's job then to tackle the roadblocks, not the work. And so has your team been able to hit at least one of those targets?
Yeah, we've been probably 80% of the team has been hitting the target consistently. We haven't had a quarter yet where everybody's hit the target.
Yeah.
But the firm revenue, we've hit our target every single quarter since we...
Congratulations, and thank you so much for sharing, Bob.
Welcome.
All right, well, we have our artificial workflow volunteer in the back. I'm getting glares from him. No. Or it might be the spotlights.
So we finally turned on the app and used it. She's right, it was on the phone. So we decided to take your email to the client.
Oh, okay.
That is the task to do.
All right.
So we actually went through 3 iterations. Iteration 1, just a general, write an email to a client on a legal matter. Came back with very long email, and our find colleagues not using AI said too long. So we said, make it shorter and put in bullet points. So version 2, all of this was pretty much less than 5 seconds per prompt.
That's amazing. So the
Version 2 comes back, and then we further refined it and said, put in a uncontested divorce. And so it then refined it further and left a blank for the cost, for what the cost of the uncontested divorce was. So all of this took some total maybe of computing time, 20 to 30 seconds max, and most of the time was just talking among colleagues here using non-AI to refine the search. So you have to have real people to put in the prompts.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And what was your name, sir?
Joe.
Joe, thank you so much, Joe. I think he actually then hit the last remaining one, sell myself as well, right? But the lesson here was that he didn't share confidential information, right? He didn't put client files in the web, but was able, within the matter of a minute, have a tool that will allow him to sell himself. So now his future drafting, those repetitive messages that you're going to be doing over and over again, he now knows a tool that he can turn to, artifice the first draft, and speed up his productivity. So now Joe has an email that will go out and lead into that customer satisfaction, that client satisfaction that we saw was so lacking in the firms that just aren't selling themselves. All right, we have just a couple minutes left. I'm going to open it up to questions about anything we've talked about. And if not, I want to thank everybody for coming to our workshop today to see that there's lots that you can take out of the Legal Trends Report to action if you think about it as an opportunity. And I want to thank all of our volunteers for showing you how quickly they were able to come up with something from this and even work all of our way to a final, usable version as a part of that. So are there any questions that you would like to ask about these actions or insights? I see a hand here. Do you mind waiting for the mic?
I just wanted to know where we could find the Legal Trends Report. Can we find it on Clio?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll bring up the QR code again. Did I leave it at the end? Was I smart? No, I was not. So in my other presentation, I had the front and the back. But it's Clio.com. Under our resources, you'll be able to find all of our past legal trends reports. And I'm going to slow down so I don't hurt anybody. Or you can take a picture of this QR code and it will take you right to all of our tools. Have I got it? No, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. So thank you. That was a great question. There's another question in the back. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing you.
Yes. For the flat fees for personal injury, how would you sell that to the clients, or how would you pitch with the idea of we don't get paid if you don't get paid?
So there's a lot that we need to unpack about personal injury and flat fees. Because of the contingency fee model, and all I have is a median figure, what we have to figure out is what could go into that. So one of the things that I think is going into that is paid consultations. I have an injury, but do I have a case? So we see flat fees going in as paid consultations. The second thing that I think we're seeing is a heavy reliance on legal predictive analytics. Does everybody who's a personal injury lawyer know about Lex Machina? Do you use Lex Machina? Oh, okay. It's a tool put out by LexisNexis. They comb through published personal injury decisions to find out what the settlement amounts were. And then they will tell you person lost an arm in a Florida workplace accident. That tends to be in here, right? And so you're able to then look at that and see what courts have historically granted and use that as a negotiating tool with the insurance company. And that gives you a range of certainty that includes then your flat fee. So if you know that you're going to be recovering $100,000 for a lost arm and a workplace injury in Florida, right? You can then just tell them, this is what it's going to cost. And you got it from there. So I think those are two parts of what we're seeing when it comes to the flat fees and personal injury. They're charging for consultations and they're using data to create predictions.
So it would be more of the hybrid model than just a flat fee model.
Yeah, so that instance was the median flat fee value that we saw there, and that it was higher for some reason. But the hybrid model might be the consultation is the flat fee, and we recover a certain amount, right? If it's under this, and then we might switch to a higher amount if it's over that. You can experiment with it. But yeah, you can do hybrid with contingency fee billing as long as you disclose it and get the client to sign. Any other questions? I see you in the very, very back. Sorry. Oh, that's really bright. Oh, and we're at time, so we're going to take this last question.
So you had a stat about 71% of firms, like an intake form. Do you mean a contact form? Do you mean an actual intake form?
So we put it to the shoppers to tell us that. But yeah, we said like an intake form. So it could have just been a contact us, tell us your phone number, your email address, and a little message. Or it could have been something like you see with the public intake forms on Clio Grow. We left that to the shopper to decide. But in the survey, we put it down as an intake form for them to describe it. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody. I went over time. If you have any more questions, I'll be in the back. Happy to chat with you some more. Reminder that the After Dark events will be starting this evening. The shuttles leave from your hotel, but we have shuttles here to take you to your hotel. And I look forward to chatting with you all later tonight. Thanks, everybody.